Good morning everyone, my name is Michelle, I hope you're doing well. Welcome to another video. It is Friday morning the 10th of October and we're sticking with the case of missing siblings 6-year-old Lily and 4-year-old Jack Sullivan today from Lansdowne Station in Nova Scotia. They were reported missing at 10:01 a.m. on the 2nd of May by their mother, Malaya Brooks Murray. There's a couple of signposts, I guess you would say, as to where Lily and Jack might have gone, if you believe that they just got up and wandered into the woods and went and had an adventure. That is the blanket that was found by Malaya's sister, Hayley, on the afternoon of May 2nd. And that's about 1 kilometre or 0.6 miles away from their home. And then that night, so the 2nd of May going into the 3rd of May, some boot prints, children-sized, were found on a pipeline trail. It's a little bit overgrown now, but normally it's kept quite short. So May was probably reasonably short. They've not cut it over the summer, I don't think, because there was a ban on going into wooded areas. I think due to fires. Somebody in the area correct me if I'm wrong. But are these really signposts that Lily and Jack were there? Well, the RCMP have made some headway in trying to work out whether those boots were Lily's. We've talked about that a few times here on this channel. I talked about it yesterday, actually. Can we be sure that this blanket wasn't planted, and can we be sure that these boot prints were Jack and Lily? No, we can't. But for 3 days at the end of September, cadaver dogs were brought in. 2 cadaver dogs, Kit and Narc, brought in from British Columbia. And they did a 3-day search of these most probable areas, according to the RCMP. So the whole property, the blanket site, and the boot prints, looking for human remains. They didn't find anything. There was an update this week from the RCMP, and the dogs only did 3 days. So I'm really disappointed in what has happened there, because we don't know. I mean, look, RCMP seem to think that these are probable areas. So they're still working under the theory that they wandered off into the woods, because there's no sign at all of any criminal involvement. What are they to think? Lily and Jack went somewhere. So it's the only thing you can think if you rule out all crime. I don't know, from day one, I swing from, yeah, it's very possible that Lily and Jack just wandered off and they're in the woods somewhere and they died. How they died, why they died, is a question. They're not still wandering about, are they, 5 months later, like a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old? But then there's so many red flags. There's so many red flags amongst the family members that you can't help thinking, are the RCMP missing something here? I don't think that Malaya and the children's stepdad, Daniel Martel, are criminal masterminds, but you've just got these red flags and it's impossible to look away from that. It certainly is for me, anyway. However, what we're going to do in this video, we are going to the interview that CBC did with Daniel. And this, they're standing actually on Lansdowne Road, and this apparently is the pipeline trail. So if Lily and Jack walked up Lansdowne Road and onto the pipeline trail, then the RCMP are right. There was no scent though. The live scent tracker dog was sent to these locations and they couldn't pick up a scent. It's just so strange. It's so strange. Anyhow, they released a few clips in their news pieces, but this is now the full interview, or at least a large chunk of the full interview. I'm not going to play it all, but I am going to pick out some bits here, because I'm torn between Daniel being a caring stepdad and being a manipulative, lying narc. Let me know in the comments which one you think it's most likely to be. Let's go. Before we get into this interview, can I just ask, if you're not yet subscribed, please do so. I'm trying to get to 100,000 subscribers by the end of this year, and with your help, I can do it. Just click the subscribe button, it's completely free, and then YouTube will send me a silver play button plaque for my wall. I want that plaque. Okay, without further ado. So, talking about the day that the cadaver dogs arrived on the property, Daniel was pleased that they're there. He's wanted them to come and clear the property for a long time, and the fact that they didn't find anything is what Daniel wanted, so that people might stop thinking that he's blameworthy. Well, Daniel, I'm sorry, it doesn't stop the theories that you might have done something to Lilly and Jack, or at least hidden their bodies, because you'd be an absolute fool in that kind of environment to bury 2 children on your own property. But then the dog handlers asked Daniel where they should search, and Daniel was confused at this.
Where do you think we should search? And in my mind, these guys are they're supposed to be the best. They should have mapped the terrain, looked at satellite imagery, and found every single speck on that property that needed to be searched. And they should have had, better coordination with reviewing those maps and people involved from the start with search and rescue to determine areas they need to search.
What happened? Did you tell them where to search or advise them, or what did you say?
Yeah, I gave them like any indication that, soft grounded areas like the marsh, the ponds, anything like that. But I said, you're welcome to do it anywhere. They did inside the house. They did, everywhere. Vehicles. They did everything they could.
Yeah, they did everything they could in the amount of time that they had. Only 3 days. Why only 3 days? I don't know. Maybe they're needed elsewhere in their own province, and I can understand that, but we've had this conversation numerous times that there's so few cadaver dogs in Canada. It's really crazy. Anyhow, they asked Daniel where they should search, and Daniel was like, well, we should have sorted all this beforehand. Listen, they did. They did. The reason why they asked Daniel where they should search is because they're looking for his reaction. They're looking to see whether he gets shifty, or he stumbles on his answer, or he tries to evade the question. That's what they're doing that for. The dog handlers are police officers as well. Now, it's not their jurisdiction, but they're there on request of Nova Scotia RCMP. So you can imagine that the Nova Scotian RCMP had a conversation with the dog handlers, like, we've tried this guy, we've tried to get as much out of him, now the cadaver dogs are here, let's see what he says. So I can imagine that this is a strategy that they used. But also, one of the dog handlers, Daniel says, accuses him of the children being dead on Thursday evening, not them going missing on Friday morning. We heard about this a few days ago because Daniel had been talking to YouTubers about it. This isn't exclusive by CBC if you have been following the case on social media. But one of the dog handlers really upset Daniel.
A little bit heartbreaking and saddening to hear what the words that came out of his mouth. And for me, all I was trying to do was ever help. Like that's all I've been doing is cooperating, and to see that and hear that, it was pretty saddening.
What did he say?
He said your Thursday and all the way leading into Friday morning, there's not enough detail. And I said to him that Thursday was just an ordinary day until I woke up on Friday morning. And that's when, life changed. There was nothing like life changing on Thursday. It was a normal day. So, therefore, there was nothing detailed that needed to be remembered that day until Friday morning.
So he was mentioning something along the lines of something happened Thursday night,
yeah.
And your story isn't matching up?
Yeah. Well, not just matching, it didn't have enough detail for him, personally. And then that's when I asked him, do you know anything on the case? And he said, not really. I've seen you on the news once. And that kind of alarmed me, or, shocking, because you're having somebody that's trying to get you to admit to something and they don't know any details. So therefore, my Thursday didn't have any details. Your knowledge of the case didn't have any details. So you shouldn't try to force something on me without knowing any of the background.
Well, I've got to say, I agree with him. I've got to say that if this dog handler was genuine when he said, yeah, I don't really know the case, well, how can he know that there's not enough detail? Again, I think this is a setup to see whether they can just rattle him enough for him to blurt something out, say something that they could use for further questioning. I think they're desperate at this point. I think they are. I think they're desperate. And they're trying every possible tactic. And Daniel did say in this interview that they don't speak to him very often now, and he has to call them if he wants any updates. Well, they know he's out talking on social media, so I think they're going to be a little bit guarded in what they tell him. But they do keep saying there's absolutely no sign of any kind of criminal involvement. And we have to keep going back to that. You know, they've written it in court documents, in sworn affidavits. They have. And we do have to listen to that. If Daniel is completely innocent, then the dog handler's accusing him of doing something to the kids on Thursday night. Well, yeah, that's pretty horrible and heartbreaking. But they have to try every possible way, just in case he is a criminal mastermind, just in case he is a calculating and lying narc that has passed a polygraph and been able to evade letting the RCMP into his evil deeds. Again, I'm torn. I can see Daniel as somebody who is a caring stepdad that has brought Lilly and Jack up as their dad since Jack was a little tiny baby and Lilly was just a toddler. So he's attached to them. I can see that. I can see that. Also, I can see all the red flags as well. So towards the end of the interview, Daniel really, I guess, hammered that home for me.
People should have just opened their eyes to see that we need to look elsewhere. I pointed many fingers, and I think that's where the people should look.
You see, this is the thing, that I've pointed the fingers where people should look, and he's pointed them towards Malea's family. You know, Haley and Hayden and other people connected to Malea's family. The possibility of the blanket being planted, the possibility that Lilly and Jack are alive and have been taken away. Now, Haley strenuously denies planting the blanket or having anything to do with Lilly and Jack's disappearance. She's not close to Malaya, and surely if Malaya had arranged something, the RCMP would have found something on her phone. But not necessarily, because they went to Patty's, her grandma's, on Wednesday. They could have arranged something by word of mouth. But how would they know what time to pick Lilly and Jack up when the coast was clear? And, you know, there's all of these things that would have to have fallen into place really, really well for them to get away with it.
Not here.
Not here. Not in the woods. The fingers have been pointed. Let's start taking a look.
What's going through your mind as you see their picture every day still?
It's just heartbreaking to know that 5 months have passed and school started, the summer ended. Like, this should be a chance for kids to be interacting and doing kid things, enjoying their lives as kids. You know, like, it's not just all the kids that miss them from school and community and, you know, at this point, the whole country that, you know they're missing.
Yeah. Unlike many, many, many cases, Lilly and Jack's case has taken off. And this is why people are pointing their fingers in all sorts of directions. And a lot of people are pointing the fingers at Daniel. But he's in turn pointing his fingers. So, you know, doesn't think they're in the woods. Well, where are they? Daniel thinks he knows who took them. But RCMP can't find any evidence of it. So again, is Daniel the caring stepdad who is doing all he can? Or is he a lying, manipulative narc who thinks he knows better than RCMP?
It's just like, I have kids too that know that they're missing too. And like, that's heartbreaking for them. Like, Meadow doesn't understand, but one day she will. And she knows that Dad spoke up for Jack and Lily when no one else would.
Dad spoke up for Jack and Lily when no one else would. I wonder what Malaya thinks about all of this. Because Malaya has pointed her own fingers. Malaya's behaviour, in my opinion, is more problematic than Daniel's. The fact that she left on May the 3rd. The fact that she has had no active role or involvement in the search. It's all very deeply concerning. And if I'm honest, Malaya concerns me more than Daniel does. If I'm really honest. So, that's where we are. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.